Have you ever stopped to think, like, uh, if those student evaluations we all have to fill out at the end of the semester, like if they actually tell us anything about how good a professor really is?
Oh, yeah, totally.
I mean, we've all been there, right? Like racing to get those things done on top of like finals and papers and all that.
Right.
So today, we're going to be like diving into this super interesting article that I found that basically questions like a lot of the common beliefs about those evaluations. And, like especially the idea that they're like totally biased against women professors.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's like a big one, right? Like the idea that female professors get like way harsher ratings than men for like the same teaching.
Totally. Awesome.
Yeah.
Are you ready to dive in?
Yeah, let's do it.
Data on the screen, numbers come alive. Male, female flows where the patterns thrive. Visual charts, public colors unify. Gender decoded, bringing truth to light. Small drum fill. We break it down, real talk. Trends unveiling, facts from every block. Here's your insight, watch the data glide. Gender decoded, let the beats collide.
The listener who sent this in, they sent in some excerpts from an article that dives into, kind of the nitty-gritty of these evaluations and analyzes, what's really going on there. And
Interesting.
yeah, it's pretty thought-provoking.
Yeah.
So basically the whole thing is their bias in these evaluations.
Okay, bias, yeah.
So, we all, I think, go in with the assumption that they should be fair, right?
Of course.
An objective measure of teaching effectiveness.
Yes.
But are they really?
Right.
So that's what we're going to unpack today.
Yeah, let's get into it.
We're going to talk about some potential biases, and then there's one factor in particular that I think is going to surprise you.
Oh, okay. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, so let's start with what the article kind of leads with, and this is, something that I think we hear a lot about.
Okay.
This concern that, are female professors at a disadvantage
Right.
in these student evaluations because of gender bias?
You make sense, yeah.
It's a fair question to ask.
Especially given, the history of academia.
Right, exactly.
It's been a very male-dominated field.
Yeah. So the article references this massive study that was done.
Okay.
I mean, massive. It looked at data from over 1 million professors.
Wow, 1 million. That's huge.
And what they found was pretty surprising.
Okay.
They didn't actually find evidence of like widespread gender bias.
Oh, interesting. So not what you'd maybe expect.
Not really, no. But they uncovered something else that is really kind of fascinating.
Right. What did they find?
So this study, it actually incorporated a unique element,
Okay.
which was hotness rating.
A hotness rating
Yeah.
for the professors.
Yeah, and it was, just like a little icon. They used a pepper icon.
A pepper.
So like more peppers meant a higher hotness rating.
Interesting. Okay.
And what they found was that this rating had a huge impact on evaluations,
Really?
regardless of the professor's gender.
So it wasn't about whether they were male or female.
No, it was about the pepper.
The pepper. Wow.
Yeah. And like, to give you an idea of how significant this effect was,
Okay.
85% of the professors who got the highest rating, which was a 4.9,
Okay.
also had that pepper icon.
Wow. 85%. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a pretty strong correlation.
Yeah. No kidding. So how do we make sense of this?
Right. Well, that's the $1 million question. Right?
Yeah.
Is it purely about like physical appearance?
Yeah. I wonder.
Like, are students just rating professors based on, conventional attractiveness?
I mean, it's possible, right?
It's possible, but the article kind of digs into some other explanations that I think are more nuanced and maybe more likely.
Okay. Like what?
So they suggest that hotness might actually encompass, a whole cluster of traits.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Not just physical attractiveness.
Right.
So things like charisma, confidence, a really engaging presentation style.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like someone who's just really good at, commanding the room.
Mm-hmm.
And those things could be perceived as hot.
Right.
And it could also just be, something as simple as students respond more positively to professors that they perceive as approachable or, dynamic.
Yeah, if you like someone, you probably pay more attention.
Right, exactly.
And you might be more likely to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And so then that perception of the professor as a person might then, bleed into their perception of the teaching itself.
Oh, okay. So maybe you're not consciously thinking, this professor is attractive, so they must be a good teacher. Right.
It's more subtle than that.
Exactly.
Right.
But it's still, impacting your evaluation.
Right, right.
So then the article takes this a step further.
Okay.
And introduces this really fascinating model called the divergent interpretation due to expectations model.
Okay. That's a mouthful.
It is. It is.
Yeah, what's that all about?
So this model, it suggests that students might actually walk into a classroom with different expectations
Okay.
for female professors
Oh, interesting.
versus male professors.
Okay.
So the idea is that, maybe consciously or subconsciously, students might have lower expectations for female professors.
Oh, I see.
And then what happens is when those female professors exceed those potentially lower expectations, they get rated really highly.
Oh, okay. So it's like a double-edged sword.
Exactly.
They have to work harder to impress,
Right.
but then they also have the potential to really stand out.
Exactly.
Interesting.
But then the flip side is that when they underperform, maybe they face harsher judgments. Oh, wow.
than their male counterparts.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, and then the article even brings up this idea of self-serving bias,
Okay.
where, you have these female professors who are getting really high ratings,
Yeah.
and they might attribute that success solely to, their ability.
Right, like they earned it.
Exactly.
Fair enough.
But they might be overlooking the role that, exceeding those potentially lower expectations might have played.
Right, so maybe they're not getting the full picture.
Exactly.
Interesting. This is really making me think about, how we perceive competence,
Right.
especially in a field like academia, that's been historically male-dominated.
Exactly.
There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, so where do we go from here?
Yeah, good question.
Well, the article, it doesn't say that we need to throw out student evaluations altogether,
Right.
but it definitely highlights the fact that they're not perfect,
No system is perfect.
right? And, they emphasize that we need more research to really understand all these biases.
Yeah, especially this hotness thing. That's wild.
Right. Like, is there a way to measure teaching effectiveness more objectively?
Yeah. Can we minimize the influence of these subjective perceptions? That's
Wow.
a big challenge.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about.
It is.
This deep dive has been, really eye-opening for me. I don't know about you.
Oh, absolutely. This is the kind of stuff that keeps me up at night.
Right. So for everyone listening out there, think about it.
Yeah.
Are there other situations where hotness or some other, subjective factor is influencing our judgment?
We don't even realize it.
Yeah.
It's scary to think about.
It really is. And that's something I think we all need to be more aware of.
Absolutely.
So that's our deep dive for today. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And until next time, keep thinking deeply.
Keep diving.
Yeah.
Yeah.